startling how easy this is. Like, this should be harder. Idiots like me shouldn't know how to use this.
I don't know. We had a hell of a time getting the audio working.
Yeah. Okay, I think...
Oh, hold on. Let me just...
Okay, yeah, we're up. I had the YouTube open. I had to close it.
Shit. There we go. Sorry, I was getting dual audio.
That's okay, me too.
Okay. Brought the live stream up to pop out the chat.
Yeah, if you want to keep an eye on the chat, that would be good.
But
yeah, you never know. I don't want to miss anything. Okay, so now that we're live, this idea was Carlos's, and it kind of came from our book club stream where we were talking about 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, and we all kind of agreed that it's super cool when Jordan Peterson talks about Disney movies. So we were like, why don't we do it?
Yeah, he has. I think he correctly identifies why Disney is so. Why it sticks around.
Yep.
Like why,
for sure.
It speaks to children so well.
Yeah.
And his idea of refer to them as like meta narratives. Right, these 1,000-year-old stories that have just kind of stuck with humanity throughout the ages. Like, like you find a building that's 3,000 years old. There's something to it that holds it there. Right? Like it's well built.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally what it is. There's certain things in these stories that we just can't get. We can't leave them behind as we keep moving forward. And it's really interesting, and they're so universal that you see the same beats and the same character types and the same kind of representations through like every story that has lasted. So, and Disney is so good.
Cultures, it's the weirdest.
Yeah, and Disney is probably definitely in film the best at taking these old stories and modernizing them and giving them new life and bringing them into the world again. So I just love it. I'm a huge Disney freak, and like all of the classic Disney movies, like I've watched them hundreds of times, and they still hold up.
I can't make that claim. But see why one would.
So we chose Aladdin for the first go around of this because it's an older Disney movie, like older by their standards now.
Yeah, 92, which makes it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm old. Makes it about 26 years old.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the first movie that I owned. Like the first VHS movie that wasn't like Barney that was given to me. So pretty special. I still have that copy. That's still the copy I watch. Damn. I love this movie. Yeah. It was one of my first Halloween costumes. I was Jasmine. My mom and I were both Jasmine. My dad was Aladdin. And my brother, who was like 5 months old, was the genie. It was great.
Damn.
Still have that
costume. With that today.
No, definitely not.
The appropriation would be real.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I was like a little child, and I was in like a belly dance outfit, basically. It was great, though. But, yeah. So yeah, I have a couple pages of notes. Did you have anything that you wanted to start with?
Well, I have some stuff written.
Okay.
My thoughts are terribly unorganized, though.
That's okay. I basically just like jotted down everything that I could sort of think of, and then put a lot of question marks next to stuff that I wanted to talk about and see if we could get anywhere on it, because a lot of it was like beyond me. But why don't we start with like, that opening scene in Aladdin where there's the old man who's like kind of introducing you to the story, and he's got his market stall, and it's Robin Williams, and he's just like spitballing and making stuff up. There's a theory that that's Aladdin. What do you think of that?
I'm going to share my screen. That guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the theory I'd seen was that because he's voiced by Robin Williams, is that he was Genie. But
that's a little weird. Because
yeah,
he has the lamp.
Yeah, he does. He does, but he was set free from the lamp.
Yeah.
Right, because that's spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen a 26-year-old movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was set free from the lamp at the end of the movie. He's free to do whatever he wants, and it's
and
him running around telling the story of how he became free as part of it.
Yeah, it's possible, and like it's playful, but I don't know. I always thought it was sort of weird because I don't think the lamp makes another appearance, like in Return of Jafar and Aladdin and the Prince of Thieves. I don't think the lamp is part of it at all. The genie's there, but I think once he's liberated, the lamp goes away.
Yeah, I don't think
like.
I also don't think those movies have the same.
No, they definitely don't. I have some fondness for them because I watched them as a kid, and like I can still watch them now, but they're definitely lower quality. And like Dan Castellaneta, who plays Homer Simpson, he does the genie's voice in the sequel, and it's just not as good.
Yeah, I can remember even watching it, as a young boy and thinking like there's something off.
Yeah, even as a kid, I was like, this is not as good. And like the animation was done by Disney's like TV show side. So when you look at that now, you're like, yeah, it looks like that.
It makes sense.
But I always heard like people say that it was Aladdin, the creepy guy in the beginning. And I was like, well, that makes no sense. Because he ends up married to Jasmine. And unless they had like a horrible divorce, why is he this like street merchant?
She took the carpet. She took the carpet out of Abu.
Yeah, and he's like crazy. He's just like rambling and throwing stuff around, and like Aladdin fell a long way. If that's Aladdin.
Yeah, no, it's very clearly Robin Williams. I don't know. I don't think it particularly matters. It's an introduction to the story. It sets the tone.
Yeah.
It lets us know this is a comical adventure with an element of mystery and supernatural wonder.
Yeah, and it does really well at that.
Yeah, it does.
It's fun. There's lots of quotable, silly things
it also
for kids
is the
to say.
start of where the parallels to Pinocchio start to kick in. And I'd mentioned that before when we first started this.
Yeah.
And I do think Pinocchio was very present in the minds of the creators, or at least on some level.
Yeah.
Because the parallels are just, it's too similar.
Yeah.
It genuinely is.
Yeah. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But like my first kind of couple of notes are about Aladdin and Jasmine and their relations to the concept of order and chaos. So I kind of originally I wrote Aladdin's life equals chaos or potential not being manifested, because he's this kid, he's orphaned, he's like completely on his own, and his life is so unpredictable and so crazy, and like he has to steal to eat, and everyone hates him. Like the guards are constantly chasing him, trying to get him. The townspeople don't even like him, and it's just this like horrible hard knock life. But he's in chaos and he yearns for order, and that kind of manifests itself in Jasmine. Like she's the order that he wants. But when you look at Jasmine, like Jasmine's actually a really, really interesting character, because to Aladdin, she's order, but to herself, she's chaos, and her life is the order. Like she's a chaotic force that's yearning to like break out of the order.
See, I'm gonna come with a confession, and this is kind of exactly why I wanted to do this. And this is also why I wanted Scott to join us, because I actually had barely considered Jasmine in most of my analysis. I was really focused on Genie and Sultan and Jafar and Aladdin.
Okay, yeah. I have a bunch of them too, but I kind of think Jasmine is the most interesting almost.
Perhaps. I haven't given her much thought, but what the movie does illustrate is that, like you said, he lives a very chaotic and unpredictable life. right? He's living hand to mouth. He has to steal to eat. Whereas her life is basically laid out before her. The only choice she even gets, and if we look at historically, given the time period, it's an awful lot of freedom, all things considered. Is who she marries, and after that, fate determines. So she lives in this environment of hyper order. He lives in an environment of hyper chaos. And it's interesting because they come together because they both feel trapped by their lives. Aladdin, he's almost like your typical dispossessed young man. He doesn't feel like he's going anywhere. He's just trying to meet his immediate needs. Whereas Jasmine, her life's laid out for her, and she doesn't like that. She goes, she frees the doves because just to watch them fly away and yearn after that.
I always thought that was really powerful. Even when I was like a little 2-year-old kid watching this movie, I was always like, oh, the little birds, and then she sets them free and then they fly away, and I was always worried, like, what happens to the little birds? And the Sultan, when he's talking to her, he picks one up and he has one in his hand and he's like stroking it, and it's like so little and cute. And like as a kid, I was always so like worried for those birds that fly away, because like they don't know anything different, and they just fly out into the world, and they're like, what happens to the birds? I was like very oversensitive, obviously, the kind of kid who like cries at balloons flying away. But even now, like that is a really cool moment when she opens the cage and they fly away, because you can just see like when she watches them that she's so like, she does feel so trapped. And it's interesting that that's not just implied in all of their scenes together, that's like explicit. Like they even have that moment where they complete each other's sentence with the word trapped. And like Aladdin's house, or like quote unquote house, is like literally a hole in a wall where he can see the palace where she lives. Like it's so it would be obvious, but it's like perfect in how obvious it is, like it's on the surface, but it's actually so deep too, because like he is an ordered force that's being oppressed by chaos, and she's like a chaotic force that's being oppressed by order, and so like they're each what the other needs. It was really cool when I like started kind of going into that and seeing like they're exact opposites in every way, but in a way that they're perfect for each other.
Complementary. Okay, so I feel like we skipped a bit though. Sorry, I'm flipping through my notes here. All right, so you said the film opens up the comedic narration by the late and great Robin Williams, right? That's the tone of the movie. After a few gags, we're introduced to the lamp, the thing that drives the plot. Right, it's the treasure in the unknown. And what I thought was interesting was afterwards he pours some stuff in his hands, throws it up. They're stars, and like with Pinocchio and the blue star in the sky and the hour of midnight, it's one of those scenes where we're transitioning to the place of dreams, right? The place of possibility and adventure. And that's the first. So here we are in the very first scene. It's there's a bit of echo.
Oh.
Sorry. In the very first scene, it's parallel. So you're echoing pretty badly. Or I'm echoing when I speak.
You're fine on my end. It might be just YouTube.
No, not YouTube. Anyway, I'll just try to work through it. Okay. All right. So it parallels Pinocchio, that very first scene. Right. And then transitions to Jafar and Iago and the thief that they've hired to hunt this treasure with them. And I didn't really put much stock into that scene, except that it sets the stage that the Cave of Wonders, in order to enter, you have to be the diamond in the rough, right? The one whose worth lies far within. And it's on that line that it cuts to Aladdin. And I really like his intro song. Like you said, it gives us a really clear idea of who Aladdin is.
Yeah.
Right.
And like what his world is like, and how everything is set against him. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. He's an orphan, lives rough on the street. Right. He's described by the prostitutes as a one-man rising crime. Right. And it's from little lines like this we can assume Agrabah is relatively peaceful.
Yep.
And he's clever, just staying ahead of the guards. He has to just to survive.
Yeah.
And importantly, he's not greedy, right? Because we see Abu, adorned in jewels, he's trying to steal, and Aladdin's like, no, stop.
Yep.
And
that scene with the kids, at kind of at the end of that part when they see the kids that are scrounging in the garbage, and like Abu is ready to just like mow down on his bread and eat all of it, and then Aladdin gives his away, and
Abu feels guilty.
So great.
And also gives his away. Right, because he sees the little girl has given up the entire ration Aladdin gave her. It's given it to her brother.
Yeah.
And Abu sees the girl there and he gives his to her.
Yeah.
Right. And Abu, I think is interesting. Right? My theory is basically that Aladdin and Abu are a single person.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Abu is definitely his past and like his baser instinct, and like the way that his past like grabs onto him and has trouble letting go.
No, really, it's his negative aspects.
Yeah.
Right. He's greedy. He's vain.
Yeah.
He
doesn't like Jasmine because he doesn't like change.
He doesn't. No, exactly. But also he's a bit vindictive, as we see in the Cave of Wonders.
Yes.
Right. Because what happens is, Jafar tries to stab Aladdin. Abu saves him, and then Jafar grabs Abu and then throws him down. Right. And at some point on the way down, Abu pickpockets him and steals the lamp back.
Yeah.
Had no idea. The best. The lamp. He didn't have an idea of what the lamp was worth or what was contained inside.
Yeah.
Right. He was just, in his mind, just thinking, well, if I'm going down, I'm going to take that thing you really wanted from you, and that's a really vindictive move.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. That's what I mentioned before. How, I was kind of pondering the movie and thinking to myself about the characters and the roles they play. And I didn't remember how exactly Aladdin got the lamp back from Jafar. But I was thinking, if you're sitting there and you're hanging out for dear life, and someone's trying to throw you back into a pit, stealing the thing you just gave them is a vindictive move. And you should be trying to survive.
Yeah, and it's cool because, he is trying to survive and he's not even thinking about it, but it's Abu who is his more, his base, vindictive, greedy self who's like, fuck you, I'm going to take what you want on my way down. Basically, you're coming with me. Yeah, and it's so great when he shows Aladdin that.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm making your entire trip pointless now. That's a very spiteful thing to do.
Yeah, it's such a good moment too. When Jafar's up top and he's like this horrible thing's happened. He's worked so hard, and then he goes to reach for the lamp and it's gone. Oh, best, love it.
Yeah, and he,
it's so satisfying.
Screaming no, while Darth Vader anyway.
Yeah, the whole Cave of Wonders thing is so it's exactly Pinocchio going down into the belly of the whale. Because he has to take it upon himself to do it. He's the only one who can do it because he's the only one who won't reach out and grab the treasure. He's the only one who will do what's meaningful and not expedient, as Jordan Peterson would put it. Which is what the cave wants, right? The cave puts all these temptations in your way and makes you travel deeper and deeper and deeper over lava and all this dangerous stuff to finally get to the lamp. And if you are tempted along the way, it's your doom.
Yeah, if you stray from the path, you'll die. Oh, I thought that there isn't merit to that. I don't know. I kind of view the Cave of Wonders as the smaller bit of chaos. right? Whereas I do see Jafar as the greater one. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
there was.
Well,
I
he
suppose you
does.
could call it the. I suppose you could consider it the scene where he used to go down to the belly of the beast. Well, yeah, actually, yeah, it's a tiger, the head of a tiger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess he literally is in the belly of a beast in the cave.
And he goes down to rescue the genie, who is the wisdom of the past, and genius. So he goes to rescue him, and it's an echo of what happens later with. It's almost like an early climax that echoes the later one. It's like the first kind of hurdle thrown in his path.
Yeah,
but it echoes it.
I saw it as a kind of a moment of self-actualization on Aladdin's part, right? Because it's in the cave that he meets the genie, and it's in the cave that he encounters the carpet. And I do think the carpet plays a pretty big role in who Aladdin is and why he's the one who's able to defeat Jafar.
Yeah. Yeah, there's somebody in the comments or in the chat who's saying the Cave of Wonders is closer to the Donkey Carnival if you're making Pinocchio references. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think with Genie, I found him super interesting. Let me just bring this up. So I don't know if anyone else, or I don't know how many other people have watched his Maps of Meaning series. It's probably also in his book, but he talks about the Egyptian creation narrative. Right?
Yeah.
He draws comparisons between Lion King, right, where it's very one-to-one, where Mufasa is Osiris, right, the great leader, but now who is old and blind to the schemes of his brother, Scar. Right, Set or Seth in Egyptian mythology, right? Zazu is Horus, right? Far-seeing. Zazu is the one constantly warning of danger. He knows there's something with Scar, or he knows Simba shouldn't be out fucking about.
Yeah. That's cool.
If you draw that comparison between Aladdin, though, of course, Sultan is Osiris. Seemingly much loved by the people. They never say anything bad about him. Right? Agrabah seems relatively prosperous and peaceful. Clearly loves his daughter. Right? He's the good father.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, he's also completely blind to the schemes of his vizier Jafar.
Yeah.
And his willful or not ignorance is what leads to the almost destruction of his kingdom.
Yeah. Totally.
For the comparison, you have Jafar, who plays the role of Seth. Right, he's the schemer, rubbing his hands in the background.
Yeah.
Now, his journey I found kind of interesting, because at first it seems he only wants to rule Agrabah, right? It seems like he only wants to be Sultan. And you see that in his first wish, right? Oh, make me Sultan.
Yeah.
Right. But he kind of, he doesn't really have any check on his ambition. And that's ultimately what leads to his ruin. Right, is he ends up becoming a slave to just his emotions, his whims.
Yeah, because it doesn't take him long to go from make me Sultan to make me a sorcerer to make me an all-powerful genie. It happens in the space of like in the movie it's only a couple minutes, but in real life you can see it's supposed to be the same timeline. It only takes him minutes.
Yeah,
because he's absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, and he's just he's a kid at a candy store, just grabbing whatever catches at his fancy.
Yeah.
Right. Aladdin, I believe, is quite clearly Horus, right? With carpet, he has an eagle-eyed view of Agrabah, right? You can see the whole picture, and he also comes from chaos, right? He grew up on the streets, so he's not unfamiliar with malice, which is why he's shocked but not defeated by Jafar's betrayal.
Yeah.
The first thing that happens is when he gets thrown down back into the Cave of Wonders, shakes his fist at the roof and yells, "Son of a jackal." He's pissed off, but he's not taken it back. It hasn't just shattered his worldview.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's probably the 100th time someone's done that to him.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, though, because despite living on the street, he's trustful and hopeful, which I'm still not quite sure what it was about Aladdin that, why he's the diamond in the rough per se. Because the thing is, given his upbringing as an orphan, the entire fucking world's set against him.
Yeah.
Right? You look at kids who grew up in a household with only one parent, and just by the numbers, they do so much worse than their counterparts.
Yeah. Or even like take that from them and look at kids who like grow up in foster care.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's like exponentially worse.
I think on a personal level, though, that's kind of why I really like this movie, though. Or kind of why it spoke to me, because, unfortunately, I did grow up with a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I did spend, time in a foster home, and yeah, it fucking sucked.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think if you hold on to who you are, who you want to be,
mm-hmm.
I think that gets you through. Because that's the thing throughout the movie, Aladdin. He's like, I'm not a street rat. I'm more than that. I know I can be more. I know I can do more.
Yeah.
And he doesn't let the world get him down.
Yeah, and I find it interesting how when he gets the genie, and genie kind of lays out like, 3 wishes. You can't wish for anyone to come back from the dead, or
mm-hmm.
you can't make anyone fall in love. It's interesting that I'm sure there are other things he could wish for than to become a prince to impress Jasmine. Like that's a very interesting thing, right? Like,
no, that is my favorite. Right? Okay, because what we've seen set up is he runs into Jasmine, he falls head over heels for her, but it's very superficial, right? Because he's just a teenager.
It's Disney, like that's what happens.
Yeah, it's Disney, but he's just a teenager, and think back to high school, think back to what teenagers were like, or just impulsive young men, right? They want to impress the girl, so what do? They act all macho. They start strutting around. They start puffing themselves up. They start lying about their exploits. And that's exactly what that Prince Leo happens in that song.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
beat all these guys, right? No, look how wealthy he is, and look at all these things he owns, and look how generous he is.
Yeah.
Look what a wonderful
the giant parade. The parade he brings through town, and the gold he throws onto people.
Yeah, and but I think a couple of key things is okay, so Jasmine comes out, sees him, and she kind of rolls her eyes like, oh god, here comes another suitor, right? But she doesn't walk away until something very specific happens. She doesn't walk away until she sees him flirting with and blowing kisses at the whores.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Like, and it's like, okay, he's just a very typical guy, right? Like, he's puffed himself up, he's strutting around, he's throwing around some money, and he's blowing kisses at, easy women.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, he's just another suitor. I love that, though, because that's kind of how young men who don't really have their heads on straight, that's what they do.
Yeah, and it's actually really funny that he does that. Like, he becomes this prince, and he, like, has fun with it, and he's, like, being super generous. He, like, he blows kisses at the girls, and then he's like, I love how he's like surprised that she's not impressed.
I know.
It's really funny.
Well, yeah, because and then the entire time, Genie's sitting there like, tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Come on, man.
Yeah. And his like in his mind, he's like, oh yeah, I'll be this prince, and it'll be super cool, and I'll come in and like that's all it'll take. But like he actually sets himself back because he didn't think about her as a person. He just thought of her as a princess.
Yeah, and he wants her to find him worthy, but he doesn't understand why what she finds worthy, what she allows. He doesn't understand his own worth.
Yeah, exactly. Because
what he tries to undersell himself.
Yeah, because what he is actually exactly what she like wants and needs, but he tries to oversell himself and overblow himself, and he becomes exactly what she wants to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's actually good, like romantic comedy in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the thing that wins her over, like she's so cynical, and he's up on the balcony and trying to impress her and telling all these lies. And the thing that wins her over is when he takes her on the magic carpet ride.
Freedom.
Which is like, he thinks of it as like, oh, I'll take her on this ride, it'll really impress her. But yeah, exactly. He shows her freedom, which is what she actually wants.
Yeah,
which is what really wins her over.
Like the birds.
Yeah, yeah. And that was always my favorite song, Whole New World. Like, I had like the soundtrack on tape, and I made my parents rewind it to re-listen to it in the car because it was the early 90s.
Yeah.
And that's what you had to do to re-listen to a song.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a really good. And then when they're like sitting on the roof of a palace in China, and he's still trying to lie to her.
Yeah, he's still trying to impress her without realizing what impresses her.
Yeah, yeah, it's so great.
You know, and then her, being a clever young lady, goes and figures him out and gets him to admit that he's a lying son of a bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's about a boo. Can't be able to see this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. I love that.
No.
It's so great. And he tries to be like, oh, you know, I have servants who go to the marketplace for my servants. She's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, still trying to puff himself up. It is, yeah.
Cool story, bro.
It is a beautiful little bit. Well, the last parallel I find between the Egyptian created narrative, I think what it comes down to is Genie is Isis. He's, you know, where do we first meet him? He's the lord of the underworld, right? But he's the positive aspects of chaos.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Creation, opportunity. He's the little treasure in the Cave of Wonders.
Yeah.
Right? He's the gold that the dragon hoards. And I was thinking about that a lot. And I realized, well, that just raises a question. Who's the dragon? Now, a staple of Genie myths is hubris. Right? Genie stories are generally warnings that can be summed up in the oft-repeated idiom, careful what you wish for, you just might get it. Right?
Yeah.
This theme is explored through countless works, fiction, pop culture, right? You've seen it in Twilight Zone episodes. You see it in movies like Freaky Friday or The Change Up.
Yeah.
And you see it play out in the movie, right? I think the dragon that guards the treasure of the genie is his masters, people who own the lamp themselves.
Yeah.
Right? The genie had nothing good to say about his previous masters. You know, he was dubious with Aladdin. And Aladdin's emotional low point begins when he stops seeing the genie as a friend and starts to treat him as a servant.
Yeah, right? Totally.
This source of power he requires to keep his life, you know, nice.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, at the heart of the story, the dragon is you or us, right? Or it's a question of, would you become the covetous dragon that keeps the genie a slave? Because while he offers great power and wealth, and he can give you everything you want with your effort, the downside is now you can have everything you want with your effort.
Yeah.
And that's a recipe to a life without meaning.
Yeah, totally.
You know, we've seen
have you do you listen to Akira the Dawn's Jordan Peterson Wave songs?
that was actually kind of what got me into Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Have you heard they're so good. They're so amazing. Like his second latest one is called Wishes.
I've only seen the one.
Oh my God. It's a clip of when he was interviewed by Aubrey Marcus, and he talks about prayer, and the chorus of the song is when he says, I don't ask God for favors or for wishes. And it's Akira's video is like clips from Aladdin. And yeah, it's so interesting because he talks about like in that interview and in the song, there's clips where he talks about prayer and how he says, I don't ask God for favors or for wishes, but if you sit on the edge of your bed and ask, like, what stupid thing am I doing that's making everything harder? And he's like, you'll always get an answer to that. That's totally what the genie is, right? Like what, you know, like when you hear, you know, like be careful what you wish for, that's like such a truism. That's the kind of thing where like wishes and favors being granted to you by some all-powerful being, that's not actually what's going to fix your problems. What fixes your problems is like sitting and asking the world or asking the universe or God or whatever, however you think of it, to show you what you're doing wrong so that you can fix it. Like that's the right way. And he manages to turn it into like a super catchy song too. So It's great.
No, I don't know. I prefer his lectures a lot. Like
Yeah, me too.
I like Akira the Don's work. I think it's really good to introduce normies to Jordan Peterson.
Yes, totally.
But, first
my dad loves it.
First, they have to get over the fact that they're basically listening to a slow groove song that's actually just a lecture.
Yeah, yeah. But he has this one, the Wishes one, and then the newest one is called The Wave, and it's a shorter kind of like poppy song version. Those ones are really good, so I highly recommend them. I listen to them all the time. They're on iTunes too, so I can put them on like my phone, and it's great.
Oh, you have an Apple phone?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It must be such a disability.
No, it's wonderful. I can figure out how to live stream on YouTube, but that's all I can do with tech. Don't make fun of my disability.
Don't worry, I'm not terribly into it myself. I did about a year with Linux, and that was enough.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Beyond my capabilities, for sure.
Something I really like about Aladdin, though, is, like I brought up before, is its parallels to Pinocchio. Right. And I know a lot of things. Okay, like for example, animal companions. That basically becomes a staple of Disney. And that actually really pisses me off, because in recent years, it's always an animal that's not a dog, but acts like a dog. And I think that's just a way of getting around the fact that we all love dogs. Not every story will have a dog in it.
It's true, yeah.
So, here, have a horse that acts like a dog. Here,
exactly.
Have a reindeer that acts like a dog.
Well, I actually have a page in my notes about the animal companions in the movie. So, like, we already talked about Abu and how Abu is Aladdin's baser instincts and his ties to his past.
Yeah, well, the way I would describe it is, in Pinocchio has a little angel that sits on his shoulder and, terribly, right, does a shit job of it, but tells him what he should be doing, tells him how to be a good boy. Whereas Aladdin has this devil on his shoulder that he constantly has to rein in.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that Abu is basically a monkey version of Aladdin, right down to the vest.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's interesting that he becomes an elephant. I wonder if that has any significance to it, because obviously he needs to like level up in the same way that Aladdin does when he becomes a prince.
And yeah, I think it's just another way of puffing yourself up. Right.
Yeah.
It turns over into the biggest thing you can think of, the most glamorous thing you can think of.
Yeah. So in that world, it's an elephant, and elephants are a lot. Well, they're similar to monkeys in that they're super intelligent, but he's like definitely supposed to be more like glamorous and impressive. But his personality doesn't change at all.
No, it doesn't. He seems soaking up the attention when they're going through the march. Right?
Yeah.
Like, he sits there with his trunk, tips his hat to the crowd.
Yeah. That's awesome. But yeah, and then I also have Jasmine and Raja. And yeah, I wrote that.
Mind.
Yeah.
So you can see how much I fucking ignored her character.
So I wrote Raja as the representation of chaos and wilderness in Jasmine's two-ordered life, but he's tame the same way she is. Maybe that's why she leaves him behind when she runs away.
Yeah? Oh.
Because he's big and wild, but yeah, he acts like a dog. And I thought about the scene where she escapes and he is sad, but she says, like, I can't take you. And he ends up giving her a hand to get out. Like, he pushes her up with his nose to climb the wall. And it's interesting that he's a tiger because, like, obviously a tiger is like a status symbol. The fact that he's tame is like, it's a power thing for the Sultan's daughter to have this dangerous animal, but that's tame.
Yeah.
But it also means that he has no place in the world that she thinks she's going to go inhabit when she escapes the palace. So, like, it's sad because they have this friendship and this companionship, but she has to leave it behind because he can't come into that world.
Hmm.
And then I wrote down Jafar and Iago, but I didn't write anything down with it because it was harder to think about.
Yeah. Well, what's the point of scheming a sultan out of his kingdom and marrying his daughter if there's no one there to appreciate your genius? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think Iago is the. I think you could almost describe him as. I think it was the closest thing Jafar has to a friend.
Yeah.
Right. And he's there because, well, if when you watch the movie, Iago comes up with his fair share of schemes.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And it's not a coincidence that his name is Iago.
Yeah. Right.
It's actually a little bit on the nose.
Well, I'd say on the beak, but yeah, like he's sitting there. It's like, oh, when she marries some miserable schmuck, that's it, we're dead. And he sits there and goes, well, wait a minute, what if you were the miserable schmuck?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it really shows why Jafar keeps him around.
Yeah. But it's interesting because he's kind of a mercenary, because in the sequels, like, although they're obviously not on the par of the first movie, but he's still around in the sequels, but he's kind of changed sides. He's still kind of a double agent,
Aladdin
like an agent of chaos.
It's Iago's movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it pretty much is, yeah. But it's interesting because he's on the bad guy side, but he's one of those kind of trickster characters.
Someone in the chat actually raised what I think is a good point. Carnal Conservative said Iago represents evil's need for stupidity. For evil to succeed, it needs stupid to do the dirty work.
Hey, good thinking, Frank.
Iago isn't quite stupid. He's yeah, Ellen, maybe you're right. Iago's the smartest person in the film, but he knew it changed sides. Well, think about Iago. Call him stupid per se. He's a talking bird.
Well, he's
in
a parrot.
World where he's a parrot. Yeah, in a world where animals are regularly just roasted over a spitfire. I'm not quite sure about. I don't know. I don't really think about it much. I'm not quite sure about his relationship with Jafar, but yeah, it seems to be
he's kind of one of those. He's kind of one of those comedic characters where he's more comic relief, so we have more of a relationship with him than the characters in the movie do. Yeah. So he's kind of that character that we relate to because he's funny and he tells jokes, and there are scenes he has with Jafar where Jafar is doing his evil thing and Iago is making like the pop culture jokes for the audience, but Jafar's ignoring him completely. So he's definitely like a comic relief, breaking the fourth wall type of character.
Yeah,
similar to Genie.
Similar to Genie. I think it's a bit more than that, though. I think he's a really good example of how kind of falling in with the wrong crowd. The people you surround yourself with affect who you are and who you become.
Yeah.
Right. Because he ends up, switching sides and becoming more of a better character. A reformed criminal if you want. But before that, he's rolling with Jafar. He's watching as thieves are killed by the cave.
Yeah,
doesn't really care, and yeah, he is doing a lot of the legwork for Iago.
Yeah.
Or sorry, for Jafar. Iago's doing a lot of legwork. You see him collecting things for him. He's running that device that they used to find Aladdin in the first place.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of a weird part. Like all of a sudden they have like this machine.
I know. It's
very Disney. Like you don't really even think about it until you think about it.
Yeah, you don't really. Yeah, you as a kid, you just let it wash over you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, the machine itself does illustrate that Jafar is a schemer, right? Seems to be a bit of an engineer, but he's not magic.
Yeah.
Right?
At that point, yeah.
Yeah, the magic he uses is the staff he uses to fuck with the Sultan, right?
Yeah.
You know, to get the ring, the magic ring that he needs to find Aladdin for some reason. I'm sure there's symbology you could read into that, but I'm not going to right
Yeah.
now. And then how does Jafar trick Aladdin? With a disguise.
Yeah.
Right? Just a face mask that somehow removes teeth without actually removing them. So
Yeah, because his teeth are quite a focus. Like there's literally the moment where he's like barring all his teeth. Yeah, it's quite the disguise. Some of that Disney magic.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, you're right. Most of the main characters do have animal companions. Well, actually, yeah, the three main ones do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I kind of noticed that and I was like, And well, it reminded me of do you know the book series His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman?
No.
It's so the first one is The Golden Compass, which was a movie like 10 years ago or so.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, so in that series, which I've read like multiple times, it's a world where
has a demon.
A demon animal companion. Yeah, and it's really interesting how Aladdin kind of has that idea. Like each of the animals is really like deeply tied to the character that they're associated with.
Mm-hmm.
Iago less so because he's like sentient or like sapient almost.
No, but I think Iago.
But Raja and Abu definitely.
Right. Because it really Iago does a really good job of illustrating Jafar's character, right? We see with the thief making in the movie, Jafar is just like, oh, okay, well you've extended your usefulness to me. Go into that cave. I want to see what happens. Right? Finds out. You'll meet a grisly end. If you're not good, then you go in.
Yeah.
And with Iago, it seems to be the case that Jafar would throw him away just as easily if he stopped being useful to him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, and I really like the symbology at the end of the movie when he turns himself into a giant snake.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, he becomes literally a giant symbol of chaos.
Yeah, and he wraps himself around the genie who Aladdin has to save.
Mm-hmm.
Pinocchio parallels.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Pinocchio parallels, sorry, hold on. This is Disney because Genie is such a gay character. You do see a lot of references, right? You get a Little Mermaid reference, and let me just share my screen. Like I said, I'm absolutely convinced that. I'm absolutely convinced that Pinocchio was in the minds of the creators during this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it serves a couple purposes too, right? Like there's that like the underlying symbolic purpose, but there's also the like genie pop culture like breaking the fourth wall references, which like draws the audience in because it's funny and Robin Williams is brilliant and makes it work.
I know. Oh my God, I know. Actually, because of that, I'd seen a rather funny kind of theory.
Yeah.
Which went that Aladdin doesn't take place 1,000 years ago. It takes place 1,000 years in the future. Right? Hold on. Here we go.
Okay.
It's basically a post-apocalypse thing. We've nuked ourselves back to the medieval age, and the genie is actually a bit of sentient technology left over, which is why he makes a bunch of modern-day references.
Okay.
Obviously, it's silly, and there's actually nothing in there to indicate it, but it's just one of those.
Yeah.
One of those kind of edgy, like Ash Ketchum is actually dead theories.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
But no. So Aladdin, back to him being Horus, because it's him that defeats Jafar, right? And I really like the way he does it because he ends up tricking him.
Yeah.
He tricks him into turning himself into a genie, right? And so he tricks him into putting constraints on himself.
Yeah.
And that's how you bring order to chaos is you capture it. Right? It's how Marduk defeated Tiamat. He captured her in a net.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you tackle a problem. That's how you tackle chaos. Is you put it in terms you can contend with. And then you deal with what you can do. What you can deal with in the immediate future, one bit at a time. And that's kind of what Aladdin does, right? Tricks him to turn himself into a genie, and that's what I like about Jafar's journey through the movie. Is he lets his ambition get away with him, and he ends up becoming a slave to it. Right? He almost like an addict,
like literally.
Where he he's no longer thinking. Like all his grand schemes are done away with, right? Because now he's just a slave.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest thing about like the existence of addicts is they almost, in a way, they almost stop. They kind of lose part of what I think makes people human. Planning for the future and planning, giving your life meaning, because their thoughts become occupied with just getting their next fix. Right? In a lot of ways, they're like the shells of humans.
Yeah. Totally.
Chat's bringing up Hunchback. I fucking loved Hunchback.
Yeah, I just typed Hunchback equals Bay. That's might be my number one favorite Disney movie. I didn't watch it a lot as a kid, so I've come to appreciate it more as an adult, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it as a kid, but
it was scary.
Tony J is fucking amazing as a voice actor.
Tom Hulse.
I love that guy. No, Tony J. He did
No. Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying Tom Hulse.
I don't know who that is.
Like, he's Quasimodo.
Oh.
And he's also Mozart in Amadeus.
It's been a while since I've seen that. No, Tony J. Shakespearean trained actor. He also did the voice of Megabyte in Reboot, which is a severely underrated series.
Yeah, it's super good.
Unfortunately, you have to get past the animation nowadays.
Yeah.
But it is such a beautiful story. It really is. Like, I could sit there and do an analysis of that. Like, I probably will at some point, but I don't know if you ever watched it.
I did, but very casually as a kid. Like, when I'd go to my grandparents' house because I didn't have cable.
Basically, about 6 years ago. Hey, Scott's in chat. Hey, Scott. Basically, about 6 years ago, I decided to like rewatch it start to finish, and no, it's an amazing coming of age. Like, Matrix's journey is an amazing coming of age story, right? And he parallels Horus a lot. Like, it's he confronts chaos, right? He gets lost in the web and he loses a fucking eye, right? But he ends up turning.
That's cool.
Robotic one implanted that's it's tied to his guns. Now he can just becomes overpowered as fuck. But yeah. Anyway, that's a bit of a distraction. What were we originally talking about? Jafar, Snake, Chaos.
Yep. Yeah. Constraining.
The thing is, though, I'm not quite sure exactly what Aladdin loses when he confronts Jafar. I think it's just Genie.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
he doesn't really go. Maybe.
Well, he kind of has to go back to his old self, right, with the trickery.
Yeah, he goes back to being a street rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He loses all the power that what he had with Genie, but he gains a better part of himself because he becomes someone worth having around, right? He becomes, he proves he's not going to lord over people, which I guess makes sense.
And he started telling the truth.
Yeah,
he started telling the truth. Jasmine knows who he is. He kind of learns that it was wrong to lie, but because she loves him anyway, because she's a saint. She put up with so much. He wins over the Sultan, which is like not something that he really expected to do. I don't think. Like, he wasn't even really thinking about that, but Sultan, like, ends up seeing worth in him, and like embraces him at the end, and like gives them his blessing.
No, that is true. I forgot about that. At the end, he's just like, praise Allah, and runs towards Aladdin. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite edits.
Yeah.
Favorite edits was someone photoshopped in an explosion right after he runs into Aladdin.
It's kind of funny that they have that reference there, like that, because it's clearly a pre-Islamic Arabia, but whatever.
Is it?
Maybe Sultan's an early adopter.
Maybe. Yeah. My knowledge of Islamic history and Middle Eastern history is lacking. But as far as it goes, is I know that it was, well, basically sectarian violence is an Islamic tradition that predates the Quran by their own history. It was infighting between different sects of Islam that necessitated the Quran. So.
Yeah.
Chat brings up time. Ellen, right?
Yeah, I see that. What about the original guy at the beginning that Disney wanted to reveal as the genie later in the film in early scripts? Was that the comedic merchant guy?
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
I get his voice by Robin Williams. And
he is.
So, same thing, but a lot of fourth wall joke. Well, okay, no, it's literally a fourth wall joke because he's speaking to the audience.
Yeah. I love how he's like. You can tell that they just put Robin Williams into a sound booth and got him to riff, and he's like doing it like an infomercial. I love it. It's hilarious.
I know.
So good.
Damn it. The world lost a lot when he went.
Yep.
And I just feel like the older I get, the more I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because as a kid, like, you don't really get the jokes. But I don't know, like, I know them all so well, and it's the kind of thing where, like, when you watch these Disney movies that have, like, topical kind of jokes in them, and then you finally get them when you're older, and, like, you understand the joke more, but it was still funny when you were a kid.
Yeah, Simpsons, the early seasons of The Simpsons.
Yes,
really good with that.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you appreciate it a lot, because it just gets better with time. The older you get, the more you understand.
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
I think I covered everything out of my notes, actually. It was not nearly as prepared as I would have liked to have been.
Yeah.
I had a good amount down here.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I don't know, okay, like the thing, I keep going back to this because I absolutely love it, though, the parallels between Pinocchio and Aladdin. And, like, even right down to who they are fundamentally, right? Pinocchio came from a loving home where he was wanted. Geppetto desperately wanted a son, so much so he made a wooden puppet of a boy.
Yeah.
The Blue Fairy wanted to bring him into this world, so she gave him life. Right? He sets off to school, right? Full of hope, full of wonder.
Yeah.
Right? He's not scared.
Yeah.
And then, let's get juxtapose that to Aladdin, who's not wanted at all. We're introduced to a whole host of townsfolk, any one of whom probably could have, coughed up the 3 copper for that bread he was stealing.
Yeah.
Don't, because no one gives a shit about him. In fact, they all seem as if they would all be happier if he was just gone.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, he's like that scar that won't go away. He's just making everyone's lives miserable around him. But he's just like, it's not his fault. He didn't choose to be brought into the world. We don't know what happened to his parents. And, for the sake of the movie, I don't really take into account the sequels.
Yeah. I like them in their own way. But I fully recognize they're not up to par.
I think Family Guy basically sums up what I thought about them when they had a little cutaways to. He's like, "Oh, this is even worse than Aladdin 4. Jafar may need glasses."
Oh my god! That's great.
Like, I don't know. Like, I think the beauty of Aladdin's character is he didn't need parents. They weren't. Their absence is what was important to his character, not so much
true.
why they were absent.
Yeah, it's why parents are often dead or gone in like hero's journey type stories. It makes it more interesting. Yeah, and just stories in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the dead mom. There's always a dead mom.
Yeah, there usually is. Well, you see that like in Star Wars, because Luke initially rejects the call.
Yeah.
And well, what happens is he's literally pushed on his journey because he rejects the call, tries to return home, and he gets there and there's nothing for him. His aunt and uncle have been killed and burned, seemingly burned alive. Right, they're skeletons. And I can't remember if it was like an early version of the script or if it was done in the comics or what, but or if it was a deleted scene or what. But I've never seen somewhere that apparently there's something to indicate that Darth Vader was very aware of their fate.
Yeah.
You know, like he knew exactly who they were and either ordered their deaths or just let them die.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the kind of thing that really only becomes powerful in hindsight with the prequels in mind.
Right. But it also like it makes sense because like think about regular people. When you have parents influencing you, it does hold you back, like for better or for worse, and for better a lot of the time. You know, like when you're a kid, and they're telling you not to. Yeah, they tell you to like put on your helmet and stuff, and that's fine. Like that's good. You probably need that. But you know, you get older and you start like pushing the boundaries a little bit, and they start pushing you down. Like, so a lot of stories remove that entirely, so that the kid or you know like the young adult or whatever can just go off and not have any restraints.
Well, I think because your parents can only help you so far.
Yeah, right? And then they start to hurt you.
They don't know everything, right?
Yeah.
They can only help you as far as they've come in, and then they pass you the torch. Now it's up to you to continue the journey.
Yeah.
At least ideally, not every parent does.
It's supposed to be like that. A lot of the time, they end up kind of like oppressing you and pushing you down, and because they want to help you so much that they end up helicopter parenting you.
Yeah.
But if you make your character an orphan, you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's something that comes up a lot in like young adult literature about how there's always like dead parents, orphans.
Yeah, dead or absent parents.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cop-out because like if you get them out of the way, you can get your character moving faster. But there's so much conflict that comes from that like parent-child relationship when the child is starting to get old enough to do their own thing. So it does get tiresome to always have the parents be dead.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a good work of fiction that kind of, I think, portrayed parenthood in a good way. I'll come with blanks. I think the thing is, a lot of the fiction I read is by people who either at the time of their writing weren't parents or just aren't parents in general.
Yeah.
I know Brent Weeks, one of my favorite authors, actually.
Yeah.
You guys should all go check out his work, especially the Lightbringer series. He, if I recall correctly, he was not a parent with the publishing of his first 3 books, but then at about around the time of the 4th onward, he had his daughter, and I think he has another one now.
Yeah.
So, but I noticed that, like, as the book series goes on, it focuses a lot on the adult characters, or it already does focus a lot on the adult characters, but it also focuses on like their relationship to certain character, or the children in their lives, or teenagers, as it were, in their lives. Like one of the main characters, his story at least in the first book, is basically he finds out he has a son. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kid is, I think, 14 or so years old. He had no idea. The guy, the character himself, he's basically the Pope of this world. He's the religious figurehead.
Yeah.
That in a very religious society with magic, right? So obviously they have to have a lot of rules.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's tangential.
That's cool. Well, we've been going for about an hour. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about, or we could leave it there?
No, I think I've exhausted my notes.
That was really good.
Interesting, because like I'd just be sitting there at work and I just kind of think about the characters and think about the movie, and it's just, I don't know, when you sit there and you actually genuinely think about things on a deeper level, you find out a lot that you knew or realized, but didn't know you knew or realized.
Yeah, totally.
And that's kind of what I love about Peterson's work. Is that's that tool set he hands you, so you can do that on your own.
Yeah, for sure. And like these stories are so ingrained in like the modern person's life. Like all these Disney movies and these like fairy tales, like we know them so well, but you don't really notice until you go deeper into it how much they like are a mirror for real life, and that's why they're stuck around.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I think that's why Snow White, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, why these have stuck around for so long.
Yeah.
I think Frozen, like it's already kind of it's kind of out of the public consciousness, right? Like not, you still have a lot of girls who are fans of it, but like I don't think it'll have the staying power that any of the other Disney classics will, because at its heart, it's propaganda.
Yeah, I see that aspect of it, but I also think in a lot of ways it's just a reversal or like refutation of common fairy tale tropes, and like there's utility in that, but I don't think there's much longevity in it.
Yeah,
because it's mostly a gimmick, right? Like
subversion for subversion's sake isn't. It's
like it's interesting and it's a decent enough movie to watch, and like the songs are good. I really like the songs.
There needs to be more to it than that. And I don't know, like it was such a dumb movie. It really was. Like, oh, surprise! This guy's a villain for no reason fucking all.
Yeah. That was telegraphed from the start.
Was it really?
It was, yeah, for sure.
I
don't know. I like it more than a lot of people do, but I also think that Tangled and Brave were much, much, much better.
Didn't watch Brave.
It's really good.
Tangled was where I kind of got fed up with the animal companion that acts like a dog trope.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was silly, but it's a good movie, though. And
it is. It is.
Music is good. Yeah. They always nail the music, at least. Good music can save an iffy Disney movie for me.
I agree. Music is probably the thing I like most about most Disney movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Hellfire and Hunchback was amazing.
So good.
Jungle Book has really great scores.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Like Aladdin has a really memorable one, but not Aladdin. Sorry, Lion King has a really memorable one, but
Circle of Life.
Yeah.
Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
On Netflix, there is a 2.5-hour movie. It's Hans Zimmer concert in Prague. Right?
Yeah.
You might be familiar with. He's the composer who did Black Hawk Down. He did Gladiator. Yeah. He also did Lion King, which I didn't know. That was news to me. And so the concert itself, it's 10-minute sets usually from one movie.
Yeah.
Followed by him kind of introducing the next one, talking about like why he wrote it, why this, etc. And the only one they don't do an introduction for is The Lion King. And it's absolutely amazing because you don't know what's coming next. Everything's dark.
Yeah.
And the same male vocalist who did the movie. Yeah, all you hear is his voice. I'm not even going to try and butcher it.
Yeah.
As Ellen Wright puts in chat, yes, anyway.
Yeah,
cuts in, and then everyone suddenly knows exactly what's coming next.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really nice watch. Right,
Cool.
Just throw it on in the background, pour yourself some scotch. I don't know.
Sounds awesome. Well, do we want to wrap it up there?
Yeah.
Woo. Okay, thank you for watching, everybody. That was a lot of fun. The next one will be the second book club discussion for Brave New World, which I will begin to organize for around the end of the month.
Around the end of the month?
Woo, somewhere around there.
Time to brush up then.
Yeah.
It's actually been a while since I last read Brave New World.
I'm like 3/4 of the way through.
Oh, how are you finding it?
It's all right.
It's all right.
And that's where we'll pick up for the discussion.
Just put this way, I'll never look at Georgie Porgy again. So the same way again.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Cheers.
Have a good night. Bye.